Namaste and welcome to the Festival of Bharat. This is your host, Divyanshi Sharda. Our guest for today's show is Ms. Preity Upala ji, who is a former investment banker turned thought leader and media personality based in Hollywood, California. She works as a geopolitical expert and an award-winning international columnist and a member of the Forbes Council as the director of the Omnia Institute. She hosts a popular show called The Preity Experience and is a much sought after radio and TV commentator all around the world. A former Miss India International, she has worked in 4 continents, including Bollywood, Hollywood, as is currently developing a show for Hollywood studios. Preity ji, namaste and welcome to our show.
Namaste, Devyani ji. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on your wonderful podcast. And on Independence Day, it's indeed an honor. Thank you so much.
It's truly a pleasure to have you here with us, ma'am. And with that, I would like to ask you, according to you, in your opinion, what is the current status of India's soft power of the global sphere?
Thank you. What an amazing opportunity to have this conversation with yourself, and your amazing audience can engage with us. And I'm sure this will be food for thought for them, especially the youth. I think it's important for them to know more about who they are and the civilization that they come from. Soft power famously was quoted by the American professor, Dr. Joseph Nye, and he talks about soft power as the power that a country has that to assert itself on the global stage, and power that is not military or nuclear or not hard power, so to speak. So, on paper, one would say India, incredible India, right? Everybody knows about India and Indian culture, all that great stuff. India should be very high up on the soft power index, so to speak. But obviously, when you look at some of these reports, I don't even think it's in the top 10, which is shocking and not shocking. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, of course, the whole world knows about India and its history and so on, obviously, and they have mostly very positive things in terms of its culture and tradition. But then, when these reports, I think they're looking for specific vectors to measure things by, and I think those specific things, the measurable, so to speak, I guess maybe we just don't do as well, and we can do better. I think there's a lot of scope. I do think that in a post-COVID world, the soft power of India and just India in general is going to become incredibly important for the world, and I think nobody can ignore us. So that's a good thing. I mean, I live here in America. I must say, America is a bit of an exception, where American people have a very positive view of India and Indians, because Indian Americans are the most educated and wealthiest ethnic group, or group, I should say, in the greatest country in the world, which happens to be the USA. So when they think of India, they think my doctor is an Indian, my professor is an Indian, or my tax accountant is an Indian. They're very friendly people. I love their food. I know about Bollywood, and now our vice president is half Indian, and we've got plenty of politicians who are kind of Indian origin, and they only see them as successful people who are great citizens. So in America, we have pretty good, I think, I would say, a status as a community. But then, to be honest, you look at a country like China, they've done incredibly well with their soft power. They would be in the top 3, I think, with the way that they assert their culture on the global stage, very unabashed, kind of not ashamed of anything. And I think we could learn a few things from that approach, because we haven't done it so far. It's been very organic. I think it's done pretty well, but I think there's enormous scope for sure.
That's a very valid point you make, and certainly there is a lot of room for improvement. So, in your opinion, how should India specifically go about implementing this task of improving their soft power approach?
Definitely. It definitely starts with, I think this is twofold. One is the real attempt and the approach needs to come from the government of India. Ultimately, the buck stops with them. The buck stops with the PMO, with the PM, with the leader of our great nation, right? So they have to, hire the right team and get the right strategy to really place themselves globally and in areas where it matters, including think tanks, policy, conferences, security, in these areas, nuclear technology, terrorism, counterterrorism, post-COVID, obviously from a vaccine and from a health perspective, I guess, the UN, that sort of diplomatic level. I think one area where we really fail is this whole diplomacy, in the sense that we just don't have enough foreign service ambassadors and diplomats for a country of 1.4 billion. We don't really have that many people stationed. So I think that whole bureaucracy structure needs to get reshuffled and hire as many incredible people as possible, put them everywhere. And, it shouldn't be this, it seems to be like it's a small number and everybody wants to be given a chance to become some high commissioner to some foreign country. And that's their main agenda. Like, it shouldn't be about that. It should be an honor to serve your country, and you should, I think, double or triple the number of diplomats that you have. And they need to be doing their job. They need to be held accountable. Have they done their job? If they haven't done their job in this, I guess, in the foreign country where they're stationed, well, that should be problematic for their career moving forward. Every other country in the world does it that way. In India, somehow there's no accountability. So definitely that's an area. I think there's a big void there. We have incredible cuisine, movies, culture, our attire, music, all that wonderful stuff. But for some reason, we don't seem to push it. I think because we have a huge diaspora as well, in especially countries like UK um, uh, and America. So they seem to be like, the market is already saturated with the diaspora itself, and there's a need here for even like Indian American businesses, I think, they don't have to worry about like the American customer almost, because there's enough more than enough Indians and wealthy Indians that are gonna give them service, or give them business, I should say. But they don't think about, hey, how do we how do we put our sort of nation of origin on the map and go beyond just our diaspora. So I think that the power of the diaspora almost hurts us in a way. So there's no reason why we can't, every corner here in the States has a Chinese restaurant. Now, Chinese cuisine is it's convenient, it's not that expensive, it's very popular obviously around the world, but I mean, it's not that intricate. When you think about Indian cuisine, we have a million dishes from, every region has its own flavor. Nobody knows that, and why isn't there an Indian restaurant in every corner or even every street around the world? They could be, there should be. And why aren't we having authentic Indian food out there? Same with music. We're not asserting ourselves at all, I think, in really any of these areas. Bollywood, okay, huge market. They make a lot of movies, but how many of those movies are internationally recognized? How many Bollywood stars are even known outside of India and, well, at least in America, right? Not almost, I mean, very few. So I think there's a big gap here in terms of what we can be, and I think where we are right now. And we have to, I think, take an honest introspective look at ourselves and not be conceited and say we come from this incredible civilization, and our work and our essence speaks for itself, and we don't have to sell ourselves. Unfortunately, people aren't mind readers, and in the West, they need to be told. If you tell them and it's crystal clear, they will hear you. And these people are they're discerning customers. They know good from great. And trust me, if you present yourself to them in the right way, they will absolutely lap it up. And before you know it, I think the whole world will know about all these amazing things about India.
Quite true. That's definitely something that we should keep in mind and work on as much as possible. So, Mom, if we were to shift our focus from soft power and India's cultural assertion on the international sphere to Sanatan Dharma, what would you personally describe it as? What is your personal perception of it, and how do you emotionally connect with it?
Yeah, this is a beautiful question. And somehow dharma, Sanatan Dharma, all that, the dharmic framework of life and governance needs to be, I think, very carefully intertwined into the Indian way, I think, because in actuality it is, and it has been for thousands of years. This is very much the ethos and foundation, right, of our of what we know as Bharat, that is India. So somehow that needs to be presented in a more clear way, because when I speak to Indians, whether in India or even here in the States, many of them don't even know what Sanatan Dharma is, or they don't even understand this word dharmic. They only know, Dharma from like, the TV show, or like from the American perspective. And they're like, oh, what's karma and what's dharma? It's so funny. They know, um, no more than the American person. So it's very like a bit bizarre. I think you should know about your the mother language of the world, which is Sanskrit, which gave birth to all these amazing terms that people really love today, right? So Sanatan Dharma obviously is the real name for this religion, faith, tradition that we call as Hinduism, and that's really, I think, Sanatan Dharma. I love that term for it and how it sounds and what it means. It truly is the eternal path, and and it's as relevant today as it ever was. I think it's modern as well as um, taking from ancient wisdom and knowledge, and I think it's needed today in so many ways in India and the rest of the world. So needs to be presented in the right way. I think I'm finding it being included a little bit with the current state of governance in India, which is good. I think we have a long way to go, but at least we're having this conversation. Finally, people are even talking about it. They're proudly saying, I'm a Sanatani, and that's a beautiful term which encompasses so many things. But we need to be proud of our foundation, and uh, also understand that this framework is one that is incredibly open and tolerant and syncretic, and nobody needs to be to feel left out if they don't happen to come from that particular tradition, because above everything, nation first. You are a Bharatiya first, and everything else comes after anyway. So you need to be identifying with really the nation itself, right? So I think somehow we need to make it clear, who are we, where have we come from. Then alone we will know as a country where we're going, because I think the world is going to be asking a lot of India in economic and geopolitical terms. And I think if you really want to rise and be this global leader or rising power in the world that you say you do, you need to know who you are and where you're coming from. Because if you don't know that, there's no foundation, and you're going to fall like a house of cards. And we have fallen before in the past. And I think we've been given another opportunity to kind of shine on the on the global stage, and you cannot mess it up by not knowing fundamental things like your where you come from, your civilizational history, everything that has been. So I think it's very, very important.
Quite true. And ma'am, if I were to ask you finally, how have you personally implemented the various aspects of dharmic frameworks throughout your life via the avenue of your career, if I might say?
Oh, wow. Okay. Very wonderful question. My career has had different avatars. I used to be an investment banker in Sydney, Australia, and now I'm here in Los Angeles. I am a media personality. I work in Hollywood. I also work in the world of sports and geopolitics. So very interesting shift, but I'm truly living out my dharmic purpose, I think, and there's a lot of joy in just even following, I think, your path and your dream, so to speak. So, look, dharma has always played an important role for me. I think the most important thing it's taught me is that don't be attached to the physical and the material, because it's all Maya anyway. It's all an illusion. So don't get attached to the result or your identity or your, or what the ego thinks it is. Just understand it's we are here. We have uh, sort of descended on this earth, and we have a particular goal as far as the soul is concerned. Everything else is just happens, and you do go through your you do what you need to do, I guess, to get to the eternal goal of moksha from a spiritual perspective. So don't get attached, I think, to people and things along the way. And that has freed me up because I understand the bigger picture. And you will always have obstacles. You'll meet people who aren't necessarily helpful or spiritual or elevated, but and you'll come across negative thoughts and situations and events, and you just have to know that you're here for a reason, and there's a much bigger reason anyway. So looking at the world, understanding that it's all Maya, and just be in the present moment, be detached the result as well. I think that's been helpful. And then understanding again, what's really important, priorities, and truly what I guess gives you meaning and purpose in your life. I mean, this is all very much part of the dharmic framework. And I think lastly, I would say this sort of Sanatani way of looking at the world, which is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is a family. I think post-COVID, we have realized what a global village we are and how connected we are, because when your neighbor sneezes, guess what? You catch the cold. Literally, right? We've caught the cold from our neighbors. So I think there's nowhere to run or hide. I think we have to work together. We have to work with people you probably don't like, and so on. So I think that whole cooperation, seeing the other as yourself, I mean, namaste is now a trending hashtag almost, and namaste literally means, the divinity in me recognizes the divinity in you. And that's a beautiful way to look at the world. Everything is divine, and respect them as you would respect yourself. So that's very much a Sanatani way of looking at things. And small things like that, also from nations can look at each other in that way too. I think would go a long way in establishing peace and sort of more harmony in the world, which is badly needed, I think. So those are some of my tips on how it's helped me personally, my outlook in life, and and I think I'm just scratching the surface. There's much more to come.
For sure, for sure. And thank you so much, Preity ji, for sharing your wonderful thoughts with us on our platform. We're truly honored to have you here with us and hope to interact with you further someday. Till now.
Thank you. And just to end, I want to end with a quote, because I think this is one of the most beautiful quotes I've seen. I was trying to find the right one, and I think this is the winner. It goes, India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, the great grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most artistic materials in the history of man are treasured up in India alone. Mark Twain. So remember that on this Independence Day, and hold your head up high, call yourself a proud Bharatiya, and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Dhanyawad. Thank you so much.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Citti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार.